here on the Machair there's a lovely diversity of stuff. So here we have a common grass on the Machair, which is smooth meadow grass, Poa pratensis and Yorkshire fog, lots and lots of potentilla and serena, ragged robin, rather nice in here, that indicates it's quite a damp plot compared to many. You can see that it's extensively farmed rather than intensively. Low input, traditional, mostly not over fertilised, and so the plants that are less competitive get a chance. It's the Hebrides, the Outer Hebrides, that have by far the most on the whole globe, and so even if you're not into wildlife, you should care about these things, because rarity and diversity is good, and we have it almost all on the Outer Hebrides.
I've been crafting since I was 14, although the plough was bigger than me, but still I managed to work it. We had horses then. Yes, the horses were so nice anyway. I loved horses, working with them. But then the tractors came, everything changed. We were so happy working the craft, and my neighbours, we always worked together. Well, I'll tell you what spoiled the Machairs, I think, really, first of all, was the artificial fertiliser. You'd get a good crop one year, but next year it was hopeless.
A lot of the old traditions, they're dying out, and the younger generations, I see, they're less interested in trying to maintain them. It seems like a lot of hard work. Why go to the bother? Just get somebody in with big machineries, do the silage and forget about next year's crop. We're fighting against the weather for a start. We've got the shore with the coastal erosion coming into the shore. We've got the geese causing problems. So that's being managed with Machair LIFE as well. The crops are being protected better, and they've helped me out with taking seaweed off the shore for me, helping me and showing me how to spread it. And they did a bit of rotivating for me, which I've never done before myself, and I've learned that as well. So since then I've purchased a rotavator myself, and we actually put it to use this year.
The Machair is a unique coastal grassland ecosystem here in the Hebrides, which supports a fantastic array of flora and fauna. But it is a vulnerable habitat, and it's under serious threat because crofting here is under threat. Crofting here in the Uists has been struggling due to a number of factors. The loss of young people from the island, the grey-lag geese, the different types of grant incentives, some of which have come and gone over the years. And where Machair LIFE has been helpful is in supporting crofters to carry on traditional practices and to try to reintroduce some aspects that had started to disappear. We're keen to encourage a sustainable fertiliser for the islands, which is of positive benefit to wildlife here.
The Uist system is the last area in Britain where we have a large area of traditional farming, low-intensive farming, and it's incredibly wildlife rich because of this. Sort of the biggest threat to the Machair is the loss of crofting. Now, you know, lots of people think when you have sort of areas rich in nature and you just let nature get on with it, the Machair is completely opposite. The Machair really benefits from the crofting system. This low-intensive farming rotational system that's practiced across it increases the biodiversity of it and makes it far more suitable for a lot of species where areas are cultivated for 2 years and then left fallow for 2 years, and it creates this fantastic system of crops next to fallows, all the different wildflowers associated with the crops, which is rich in invertebrates which feed this huge population of ground nesting birds, and particularly the wader species, birds that would have probably been once very, very common across all farmland in Britain, things like lapwings, oystercatchers, redshanks, snipe, dunlin, ring plovers, all nest out here in huge numbers.
This is the croft where I was born, and I can still remember us working here, binding corn by hand. We had Highland cattle when I was a child. I was reared on Highland cow's milk. The croft is on both Machair and hill ground, and in the winter time the cattle graze on the Machair.
We're trying to look at the whole system of crofting here and how we can support it. We've tried to encourage crofters to continue to bind their corn. This is a really important practice, the production of stacks and feeding out of stacks to the cattle in the winter, which supports a huge array of wildlife, especially particular birds like the corn bunting. And the team has been very creative in the way that it's looked at how to protect this amazing landscape, and very importantly in protecting crop from grey-lag geese.
And keep the seed up so that it dries, so there's a mixture there. You get the rye and the oats in there. From the ploughing, the geese are there at the start. From when you put the seed in the ground, they're there, you could say, taking a good proportion of the seed out to the ground then. You're chasing them then. But later on, when the corn's more or less getting ripe, the geese are back in. You're having to chase them, scare them off day and night. You cut it again, same process happens again. You're monitoring the corn up and down all the time. You're not happy until it's locked up in your barn.
If crofting's to survive, or the Machair is to survive, then the goose needs controlled. It's as simple as that. The crofter can't crop if the goose isn't controlled, because anything he tries to crop is decimated. To now reach the stage where he says to himself, right, do I risk getting an extra 10% out of this and possibly risk losing 50%, maybe even risk losing it all? Or do I black bag now and get 80%? You know, crofters are willing to do it. They're willing to support any Machair schemes that help improve the Machair, and controlling the goose allows that to happen.
Most farmers go to a shop every spring to buy new seed, but the seeds here on the Uist you can't buy in the shops. So that also means that the crofters have to be really good in saving their seed, because they can't go anywhere else. We have the small oats, and here we have the rye, and again the rye is an indigenous rye here, and it's mixed in, and that's also very special here, because most farmers nowadays they grow just one thing, and it's actually a very old practice. If you have mixtures, you have more guarantee that there will be a crop in the end. So there is always a concern that there's not enough seed on the island. And of course wetness is a big issue here. And so Machair LIFE Plus has been able to buy a seed dryer. So the seed dryer really helps to guarantee the quality of the seeds on the island. It all fits together. It's the Machair, it's the low input, it's the seaweed, it's the way the ploughing is done, it's the varieties that really belong here and don't need a lot of input to grow here and give a good winter fodder for the cows. This is, you know, one of the last areas where this is done, and where it links in with high value biodiversity, wildlife biodiversity. The human diversity is the underlying cause of the wildlife diversity here on the islands.
The Machair LIFE project has a physical, tangible legacy of some of the machinery and some of the advice notes and documents that we've produced from what we've learned by undertaking the project. It's amazing how crofters have engaged with the project and are really behind the project and supported it. And we're going to leave some of that goodwill behind, and people will continue to implement the practices that we've helped to support them with through the project.
I work with the schools mainly to sort of promote the project and to encourage crofting in the younger generations really. There's a problem universally that young people aren't so interested in being outdoors and being in the landscape and being in agriculture, but it's so key to hear really specialist knowledge keeps getting passed on. And so encouraging young people to go out into the Machair and to learn about the Machair and to know why it's so interesting and why crofting is so important. Machair Art's done a really good job of that, and we took them around various crofting activities throughout the year, and then they made artwork from it. And I think one of the key things that will come out of our legacy will be to create a crofting course for school leavers as well.
I think the biggest change I've seen is the lack of people. I'm very fortunate that my son was so fond of crofting, and my grandson is just as passionate. We need young people and encourage them to stay here. I don't know how we can do it, but there's got to be money in it or else they don't stay. I'll carry on crofting as long as I'm able.